For the first time in the Joe Burrow era, the Bengals are 0-3. Hear from Joe, our thoughts on the awful start, the defense, and much, much more right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller, and this is Enter the Jungle. Catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk weekly on Bally Sports. And the Bengals are 0-3 for the first time since 2019, first time in the Joe Burrow era. And Andrew, it's rough sledding, tough sledding, whatever you want to say. And we're going to get to the defense because that's a big reason why they're 0-3. But I thought that this was particularly interesting on Monday night. Joe Burrow, Zac Taylor walking not to the locker room, but to a room beside the locker room. And Joe Burrow shared more details than Zac, saying it was a private conversation. Here's what Joe had to say about the fact that they went into a different room and not straight to the locker room after the loss.
No, it's just a private conversation with Zac. It was a very positive conversation. We're not happy with where we're at. But by no means is the season over. We're 0-3. There's 14 left to play. We just have to continue to get better and, see where the cards fall in the next, 10 weeks, whenever the bye is. So we just got to go into this week preparing to get better and trying to get a win. That's all you can do.
Was that your idea? Was that Zac's idea?
Mutual.
Private meeting already. I just think it's interesting, Andrew, that they went this route now, right after the game. We always have cameras of getting them coming off the field. And so the fact that they felt the need, Joe Burrow said it was mutual, to have a one-on-one meeting that quick, I do think that they're searching a bit for the answers that everyone, I think, is looking for if you're a Bengals fan right now because they're 0-3.
See, I thought they were just in there talking about, I assumed they walked in the door and the first thing that came up was, did you know that 0-3 teams starting the season since 1990, 2.4% have made the playoffs, to throw out a Jay Morrison statistic out there? I just assumed that's what they were talking about, James. I don't want to veer off into that for a moment. I just want to point out, though, I'm seeing all kinds of things about 0-3 teams. There's all kinds of stats out there. Mm-hmm. Gloom and doom, right? But and not to really pick on that one stat, I think historical stats can be interesting, and I think they can definitely put things into perspective, of course. Mm-hmm. But at a certain point, it's just history. So maybe this is some optimism here, but it doesn't always mean there's some sort of ominous projection or trend. And in this case, I don't care about 2.4%. What I care about did that look like a playoff team? Does this look like a playoff team? Right now, no, I don't think so at all.
Yeah, I mean, they could. And I think that a lot of things have to change. And that's what's interesting to me about the meeting. The Bengals don't care about the 2.4%. They were 1-3 last year and ended up close to getting to the playoffs. But I've never seen that. And I've seen the Bengals take some rough losses. I've seen the Bengals appear to be searching for answers. And so when you look at that video of them walking into a separate room, when you see the Sam Green photos from USA Today, and he just crushed it with this, where Joe's looking back at Zac and vice versa. Pictures tell 1,000 words. And they're searching right now because Joe Burrow put up the numbers. Joe Burrow led the team downfield for 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Joe Burrow in this offense was clicking. And were they perfect? No. But it still wasn't enough. And that's rare. It's very rare to see that, where the offense and Joe Burrow are playing at the level that they are. Jamar Chase is playing at the level that he is, and they're still searching. And I think part of the reason I feel that way is because of another comment Joe made in his press conference. And I thought he was pretty upfront, honest, and it was clear that he was searching, that he's clear that he's almost scanning, like he scans the field, scanning for answers and the right buttons to push. He was asked about leadership, and he admits that he might adjust his leadership style moving forward.
That'll be some critical thinking that I'll have to do. see what kind of leader I want to be going forward, and what I feel like the team needs from me going forward. I know we got great coaches and we got really good players that are willing to improve and take coaching. So just like any game, when you don't play great, you're going to learn from your mistakes and get better, and that's all you can do.
Your reaction, Andrew, to hearing that Joe is going to potentially tweak things. We'll see, but potentially tweak things after an 0-3 start.
I mean, my reaction is what else do you need to do? I think to your point, him searching for answers, I feel like maybe he's looking at things as though I thought we were good from where I'm sitting from a leadership standpoint. Maybe not. Maybe this is the conversation or part of the conversation they were having, he and Zac Taylor, where Joe's like, what do I need to do? What else can I do differently? I don't know. I also don't know if that's a bit of a calculated answer in the sense that he was sort of maybe telegraphing a bit, for lack of a better term, maybe saying like, hey, this is something that's gonna be on my mind. I want you to run with this knowledge, media, that maybe I need to try some different things, and everyone can come in and go, no, Joe, you did great. You're all good. Not that he's looking for that validation, but I don't know, maybe he's kind of floating, sort of, spitballing, brainstorming right there on the podium about maybe some things that are kind of weighing on his mind from a leadership standpoint. But what do we need from Joe? What do we need from Joe from a leadership standpoint that we aren't seeing?
Yeah, and there's been some on social media that'll say be more vocal. I don't think that matters. I don't think that him being more vocal impacts the defense needing to get a stop.
Right.
And that's the reality that this team faces, is doing the basic things consistently. If they did basic things consistently, they would have beat the Patriots. If they did basic things consistently for one or two more plays against the Chiefs, then they were 2-0. And if they got a few stops, 2 stops against a rookie quarterback on Monday night, we're having a different conversation. If the offense was perfect, right, we're having a different conversation. They weren't perfect. They were pretty darn close though. And that's what's tough, is they put themselves in a position where you really had to play perfect, and they didn't turn the ball over. Joe Burrow goes 29 of 38 for 324, averages 8.5 yards per attempt, only sacked twice, a 128 quarterback rating. They run the ball for 6+ yards per carry. They're explosive on the ground. They're explosive through the air. Jamar Chase gets going. Like, checkbox, 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 checkbox. Like, of all the things the Bengals needed to do on offense to win, they did those things, and it still wasn't enough. And that's why we need to talk about this defense. Lou Anarumo's crew. They were awful. Awful. There's no sugarcoating it. We will discuss the Bengals defense coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He is Andrew Fox-Miller. I'm James Rapien. Catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern right here on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Shout out to our sponsor, Garage Beer. I have a feeling, Andrew, Bengals fans might need 1 or 2 more garage beers in their life. I was drinking a lime over the weekend, and I think it was my last summertime lime, because obviously it's fall now, and so I'll be pivoting a bit to the traditional garage beer. But the Bengals defense, they didn't pivot, or they couldn't pivot, or whatever they pivoted to didn't work, because Jaden Daniels, an historic performance, 21 of 23, rookie record, 91% completion percentage, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, another touchdown running, only 39 yards rushing, which doesn't sound like a lot, but his runs were key. They were on short yardage situations that went for first downs, that extended drives. And how bad was the Bengals defense? I'm going to read the possessions for the Washington Commanders. Touchdown, 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 end of half, where they kneeled the ball. They probably shouldn't have with 20 seconds to go. They probably could have at least got a field goal, but then they decided to go to the half, score a touchdown again, then have to settle for a field goal, and then another touchdown. By my math, that's 5 touchdowns, 1 field goal, no punts, no turnovers. A nearly perfect day. I would say a perfect day for this Commanders offense. And I took a little heat on social media because Commanders fans found our post-game video with Elise. But to me, this is as great as Jaden Daniels was, and he was really good. Great. This Bengals defense was equally as awful and deserves to get ripped all week long for their performance or lack thereof, because I still think that Jaden Daniels is standing at Paycor untouched in the pocket, able to do whatever he wanted to, and is wanting to currently as we're doing this show right now.
Yeah. Zero pressure. We're back to poor tackling all of a sudden. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway, clearly, James, is Jaden Daniels, Patrick Mahomes, based off last week. That's what I'm saying. That's the lesson learned here, right?
See, no, and that's a really good point. Like, Jaden Daniels is awesome. He's not that awesome.
Right.
And that shouldn't be offensive because there's no way this Bengals defense should allow him to look like that. I mean, you know, it felt like Madden. It really did. It felt like Madden when everything is going right.
When I play you.
Well, the last time we played, I beat you 41-14. So
you remember that score,
it did
and that's
feel
sad.
like Madden. It did feel like Madden. You're right. But like unstoppable. 4th down conversions, 3 for 3 on 4th down conversions. They when you combine their 3rd down conversions, so 5 of 9, which is good, 56%, plus their 4th down, they're 8 of 9. So that was that lone field goal that they had to settle for. It's just unbelievable.
It's like me playing Madden online and you realize you're playing like some 12-year-old kid. And I get so irritated when they just start tearing me up, say they're the Commanders, I'm the Bengals. But then you're going, I wish I could be one of those people that could just disconnect right now. I can never get myself to do it. But in that game, I felt that exact feeling watching these Bengals play this Commanders team.
Yeah. And maybe that was it. Maybe Lou Anarumo's controller got disconnected during this game. But that's not crazy to think, right? Or maybe the entire defense just lost connection at times. You know, I mean, because you look top to bottom, Geno Stone, Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill, all beat in specific scenarios. This defensive front pushed around, had all the time in the world for a young quarterback who got in rhythm and was comfortable and slowly got to scan the field. He had over 3.3 seconds, according to PFF, in the pocket. Like, that's crazy time. That's an insane amount of time, especially for an athletic quarterback like him. He can make plays on the run and can always go back to that when you do finally get pressure. It's really concerning, Andrew, because Joe Burrow played awesome. This Bengals offense scored 33 points, didn't turn it over, didn't punt, and still lost, which is just unbelievable.
Lost Trent Brown during the game, Amarius Mims. We're not giving the O-line enough credit because there's so much deficiency to talk about from this game. But the offense in general, of course, played great. Offensive line, Mims coming in for Brown, played as well as you could expect under the circumstances coming back from an injury. Yeah, I mean, we talk about Joe trying to be more of a leader. Like, maybe we don't need to take the O-line out for dinner anymore. Take the defensive line out to the precinct. Maybe that's the only thing Joe can do at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to beef him up and make him harder to move or get him faster off the edge, like, you know, like that's what's really interesting is how this Bengals team responds. And we're going to get to this week coming up in just a second. But up next, a standout performer on offense, a guy that's quickly established himself as one of Joe Burrow's go-to guys, especially in the red zone. We'll talk with Andrei Iosivas coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. And Andrei Iosivas has 3 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks, had a crucial 4th down touchdown that kept the Bengals in it in the second half of Monday night's loss to the Commanders. And Elise, Jesse, and I were able to catch up with Andrei after the game in a 2-on-1 interview. A lot of times we have 1-on-1s, a 2-on-1 interview with Andrei Iosivas about his chemistry with Joe Burrow, about starting 0-3, and about getting fined for his arrow celebration against the Chiefs. Andrei, obviously you guys were able to get it going on offense tonight. What was the key to starting as fast as you did?
You know, kind of just knowing who we are and just playing to our strengths and making the plays that come to us and pushing it down the field. Like Coach Pitch always says, calculated aggression. I think we did that tonight.
When your defense is going up against an offense like that, that's moving up and down the field, I know you guys lost, so I'm not saying that part's fun, but is it fun knowing that you got to match them score for score and in a shootout environment?
Yeah, I mean, as an offensive player, you love shootouts, but you hate shootouts at the same time. You know there's going to be a lot of yards to be had, but you also know that, you know, on any given play, the other team could score too. So it's fun, but not at the same time. Yeah.
Andrei, have you ever been 0-3 before?
No. But I've been in places where we've lost a very crucial game, and you know, from those teams, you just can't have the culture implode on itself. It's all about, not letting social media get to you, not letting, blame be having people point fingers and stuff. So you just got to, keep just have our identity and just keep pushing.
After a loss, how do you just kind of digest it and move on to the next day and focus on the next week? Like, how do you get yourself ready for the next game?
Yeah, it's just it's kind of easier said than done, but every week is pretty much the same. You watch the game film, whether you win or lose, make corrections, see what people did well, and then you got to have a short memory in this league. And luckily, it's still early in the season, but yeah, we got to get a win next week for sure.
I know you got fined for your touchdown celebration last week, and you can't really comment on it. Yeah. But what does it mean to have fans take videos of themselves doing your celebration and then posting it all over the internet?
I gotta go check those out. I've seen people in my defense, so that's pretty nice to see. Thank you everyone for being in my defense. That's cool of you guys. I gotta think of something creative to do for you guys too next time. So yeah.
What is it about your connection with Joe in the red zone where you guys, fourth down, obviously it was a gotta have it moment, and you keep the game alive, you stay in it with that touchdown?
I think I was just at the right place at the right time that one. He was reading our side, and the DBs had locked it, so I knew that I was going to get some sort of rub with T, and it happened to be my ball that play. Not a scramble, that one. So that was a designed one. So it just happened to be like that.
How has your relationship with Joe grown? Because it seems like he trusts you so much right now.
Yeah, I think I try to learn as much as I can from things that previously happened, and try to make those plays that I had made mistakes on before. And so I think he sees that, he notices it. And I think we both kind of have the same mentality of just wanting to get better every day at practice. And so we kind of see that in each other as well.
Really good stuff as always from Andrei Iosivas. I think he's such an easy guy to like. And much like a lot of guys in this locker room, the 0-3 record, that's not something that they're used to. Most of these guys have never been 0-3 in anything. And so we'll see how the Bengals respond. They play Carolina this week. They play the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. Let's discuss that matchup coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. In the Bengals, they're 0-3 for the first time in the Joe Burrow era. They're looking for their first win of the season. They play the Carolina Panthers on Sunday in Carolina. And this is a huge game, Andrew, because this is a chance for the Bengals to improve to 2-2 with Andy Dalton, going against Andy Dalton as a starting quarterback. Andy Dalton just lighting the league on fire last week, crushing Marvin Lewis and the Raiders. And there are only two quarterbacks that have thrown for at least 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a game this season. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, and Joseph Lee Burrow. They'll go head-to-head on Sunday.
I wish the Bengals could have played Andy Dalton's Panthers on Monday night. That would have boded much better for us, primetime Dalton. But here we go.
1 o'clock, baby. 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. It's anybody's game with Andy Dalton at 1 o'clock, unless it's postseason or primetime. But I digress.
Look, it's the definition of a must win, because you led the show with, the 2.4% and how all of those things. And I can still see the path, but these seasons slip away fast and it snowballs. And there are teams that I've seen this happen to. The 06 Bengals, the 07 Bengals, the 2016 and 17 Bengals, where it feels like they should be better, they could be better, and they lose here, they lose there, and then you just look up and they're just who they are. And so that's what this week is about for me. Andy Dalton was good last week. The Panthers were good last week. That's great. You have no business, if you're supposed to be a quality team, going there and losing. Your back is against the wall. And if you get to 1-3, you can see the path back. But right now that path is getting farther and farther away, Andrew. And you're almost being forced to go down a road that no one expected them to go down. And that's what this game is. And Andy Dalton's in the way. And if you give Dalton time, he made a couple amazing throws the other day. His numbers were great, but the throws he was making, the touchdown to Adam Thielen was insane. And so he's made some really great throws. Touchdown to Deontay Johnson, insane. You got to be ready. You got to make Dalton uncomfortable. They didn't make Jaden Daniels uncomfortable. Like I said, he's still hanging out in the pocket right now at Paycor Stadium untouched. The Bengals have to find a way to get to Dalton on Sunday.
I'm going to be honest, it's neither here nor there, but I think I would dread this game more if it was Bryce Young because of what they just did for Jaden Daniels. I didn't want it to be some
Wow.
Bryce Young turning things around. Look at this. What do we have here with Bryce Young? No, they need to win regardless, but Bryce Young made me nervous in a weird way that probably only Bengals fans can understand. Yeah, I don't know. Dalton, I feel like at the end of the day, he had the game he had, and now we got tape on it. I don't even know if that matters at this point, but I'm glad whatever needed to happen happened when it did with Dalton coming in the week that if he was coming in as a quote unquote unknown for the season now, I'd be much more nervous. Defense needs to do their job. They need to get their stuff figured out clearly. That's priority number one. Next, you've got some tape on Dalton on this Carolina team and this roster that they have. Let's take care of business. There's no reason they shouldn't, but we've said that for 3 weeks and certainly for week 1 and week 3. And here we are.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. And so certainly a winnable game on the road. Have to have it. Got to have it. Got to make Dalton feel you if you're this defense. And at the same time, this offense has to continue to roll. I think it's reasonable to expect them to play at a reasonably high level moving forward. That has to be consistent if they're going to have a shot to dig themselves out of this deep, deep hole that they've put themselves in. That's going to do it for this week. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Drink a garage beer today. And for Andrew Foxmiller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching. Enter the jungle.